do you think they'll ever forgive me? And this is where I believe you're
Oh,
talking about your
yeah.
children, right?
Mhm.
I asked my therapist one day, barely able to speak through the lump in my throat. Believe me, girl, I know that lump.
Oh,
For
yeah.
different reasons, but I can empathize.
Mhm.
Forgiveness takes time, Adriana, she replied gently, but it starts with you. You must forgive yourself. Talk
Mhm.
to me about that journey.
Man. Oh my gosh.
Hey, we're getting deep here.
Oh my goodness. Man, that was I'll never forget these moments. This is the thing as we're talking about, I literally picture these moments in my mind of just sitting there, and like my body was like slumped, and I just felt so sad to think about the fact that here I was, finally I'm awake. Essentially, I feel like I was awake. That's what recovery has felt like to me. Like I've woken up out of a dream state. And I spent 23 years in this dream state slash nightmare, right? And not always bad, right? Like some dreams, not always bad, but just in this dream state. And I feel like I was awake. And then I remember sitting there while on my healing journey in this space with my therapist, and I had like a really fun, like a good moment where I was kind of proud of myself. And then it like hit me like a ton of bricks, and I like sat back and like was slumped. And I was like, man, I have a lot of like I have a lot of work to do. Like I have a lot of years to make up for. Right. And I just looked and I was like, do you think they'll ever forgive me? Like what? Because it hit me, it occurred to me in that moment. What if they don't? What if my kids can't forgive me? What if all the damage and all of the years of drug use, all of the years of emotional neglect, and then, those feelings of abandonment, all the things that I'm working through with my therapist, what if they're too angry to forgive me? Right. And so when she tells me that I need to forgive myself, right? So in that, what she's telling me is that there's hope, right? Like there's hope. And when she said that, and I developed such an amazing rapport with this woman that I learned to like trust her, right? Which is not something that came easily to me. Is Trust is not something I gave. It's something that you absolutely had to earn from me. I didn't trust anybody. I
Right.
couldn't even trust myself. And so when
Yeah.
she said that to me, it like it just woke something up inside of me that said, maybe there's hope there. And so and she gave me this statement. Another thing, I actually didn't add this in, but she gave me this statement. I think she slipped it under my door one day, and it was like right around after we had this session, and it was a statement that Oprah had made of all the people, right? Oprah said it best, of course. And Oprah said, forgiveness means to accept that the past could not have been any different.
Wow,
And
that's
you know what I'm
I,
saying? When I
I'm gonna
heard
have to
that,
stew on that one for a minute.
woo,
Right?
forgiveness means to accept that the past could not have been any different. And once I like read that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, huh, that means that no matter what, I can't bend time. I can't go back. I can't like rewind. I can't go back into like I can't undo anything that's already been done. Not worrying about it, not crying about it can fix or change anything that's been done, which means the only thing I can do is fix and change it now, right? And so, in order to forgive myself, essentially, I had to take ownership and accountability for all the years that I had been in my addiction and the things that I had done. And I had to work through my steps, of course, as you're aware, in your book, but that you talk about that we have to accept accountability because the only way to fix and change something is to acknowledge it ever even existed. So if I'm
Right.
sitting here denying that I've hurt my children, then how can I accept that and fix it and change it? Right? If I am denying that I've ever had an addiction, how could I ever move past that? So I had to accept accountability. And I also had to accept that I wasn't loving myself all of these years. Even, oh, I love myself. Oh, sure. Anybody who loves themselves doesn't throw like a whole 8 ball down their nostril.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And anybody, around and doesn't, accept, multiple guys at a time, like that's that's not loving yourself, right? And so I had to accept that I was not loving myself, and ask for forgiveness.
Okay, so I gotta unpack because you said a lot of stuff in there. And we were talking about the original paragraph was about forgiving yourself. And it reminded me, you were saying about you gotta or your counselor was saying that you have to forgive yourself first. And it
Yeah,
reminded me of a lot of the readings that we have in recovery that says that you cannot give something that you don't possess yourself,
so
right?
true.
Uh,
So
you
true.
know, so it's like, in order to receive forgiveness, I need to be able to give forgiveness, right? And so it's
Yeah.
like it's a back and forth type of thing. And you also said trust myself.
Mm,
Um, and the thing, and that again, it's like I can't give something that I don't have myself. And
mhm.
for me in the book, the way that was like, or the way I described it was the self betrayal. I was
Yeah.
constantly in self betrayal, and that's kind of now let me kind of step this back to what we were talking about in regards to that night when I got that little glimpse of going back to AA. So I ended
Hmm.
up getting a sponsor in AA, and God bless him. I'm just a hard case. Uh, but he had told me that he would not be able to sponsor me unless I had uh, refrained from alcohol or stopped drinking for at least 30 days, right? Because he
Right.
wanted to see how dedicated I was. And so I agreed. But in my heart of hearts and my deepest of deepest, like I don't think I can be honest and tell this guy that I'm never ever gonna drink again. Right.
Yeah.
And so I day by day, waking up every morning, and I'm working with the sponsor and I'm calling on them and checking in. But every morning I'm waking up and I'm waking up more and more and more pissed. And we're going to get back to the trust myself thing, right?
Yeah.
But I was just getting more. And by day 30, when we had our next meeting together, I fired him. And a lot of
Mm,
people who are addicted and don't understand this. And sometimes I still have trouble describing it and being able to articulate it. But when that morning before I fired him, I woke up and it just kind of hit me with a ton of bricks. It's like
mhm.
stop bending the knee and stop being something you're not. It was like,
Wow. Oh, so good.
and
Stop
so
that act of self-betrayal over and over, right?
right. And what that meant to me is every time that I bent the knee or acquiesced, like when I went out and looked for help, right? And
Mhm.
my life coach tells me this, and I think you even mentioned it too. Like your life, it seemed like it was always based on transactions. It was like
Yeah,
when
all the
I
time.
needed help, I needed something. It's like somebody required something of me to change myself. And I could even equate this to, my marriage and all the other relationships. It was always a fucking transaction. And I always
Yep.
had to, I always had to change myself and I could never be my genuine self, and I was
Yeah.
constantly living in a state of self-betrayal.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so when you said trust myself, there's no fucking way I could have trusted myself because I was a goddamn chameleon. I could be
Mhm.
anything and everything that somebody else wanted me to be, except I
Yep.
couldn't be me to me.
Right. That part.
and s- and so when it came all together about the drinking, and then when it started, and again, this was 3 years of Al-Anon, and as I was
Mhm.
going through my recovery journey and writing my book and writing in my 4 step and coming to realize that I am not the addiction. The addiction was a symptom of my disease, and my
Yes.
disease is my inability to be me.
Correct. Oh my God. That is so
Right?
good. That is so good.
It
So
only
true.
took 30 years and publishing a book to get there, but finally, right?
But you did it. That's it. 30-year journey, my guy. And a book. And it's published. And finally the lights are on. You know what, you want to know what is so great about that? There's people who spend lifetimes, friend,
White
who
knuckling it.
never
Yeah, they white
or
knuckle
who
the
never
shit out of it, right? Or
yeah,
even
and
get
never
there.
figure it out. And never
Right.
even figure it out. And that's the heartbreaking piece, which is why I'm sure just like you, I know for me, just like you, I am so committed to speaking my truth as often as I can and just telling my truth. And hopefully it connects with somebody who understands that there's hope for them too, and they have to figure it out their way. But there is a way.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. It's like, they there's so many cliches, like, doing the hard path or taking the narrow path. And, sometimes it's not the high road or the low road. Sometimes it's just that very narrow path, right? That you
Yep,
have to crawl through yourself,
yep,
right? To get to where you need to get to for that understanding. And that's the thing. It's like, it's not my way that's the right way. It's not my sponsor's way that's the right way. It's not the Catholic Church's right way. It's like,
correct.
how did I get to from point A to point B,
Yeah.
developing my own relationship, not only with God, but
Hmm.
with me, right?
Exactly. With myself, right?
Exactly.
Essentially
Right.
the God in me, right? And I believe
Ex-
that we have all sorts of beliefs, right? Like there's
right.
some in which I heavily encourage. I believe that everybody's entitled to their belief, right? And that and I don't have the right to impose or impede anybody my belief on anybody else, but they're mine, and I stay true to my beliefs, right? And I have no problem talking about them either, but I don't impose mine on anybody else either,
Correct.
right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. But we're
Um,
all spiritual
yeah,
beings and we can connect through that
exactly.
spiritual connection. I mean,
100%.
even whether you
100%.
follow the Bible or whether you file, Native American followings or whatever,
Yeah.
we're all spiritual beings. There is, and
Yes.
Jordan Peterson, this is what was really crazy, is because when he was talking about religions and how the Old Testament came together and all the stories and how we transferred that spiritual knowledge,
Mhm.
when they were talking about all these false gods and all of this other stuff in Genesis, they actually talk about the Nephilim, right?
Yes.
The lower
Mhm.
gods, right? That the Greeks, it's like the connections are a little too uncanny, right? It's just like, wait a
Yeah,
minute. You're telling me that the Bible talks about this stuff, except I never took the time to read it, and
exactly.
it's crazy, just
All the
crazy
things.
stuff,
If you read
right?
the Bible, there's so many different things in there with where people are like, "Oh, I don't believe in crystals and that we have God's power in us." So if you were sit down and read the Bible, all of this stuff is true, actually. They burned incense and that was not satanic and all the things that claim, that
Incense and
we
myrrh, right? It's like
incense
when
and
when
myrrh.
Christ was when Christ was born, gold, incense, and myrrh, right?
And what
And
did they do? They followed the stars to go see him. So they were astronomers as well, and they read the star. Like what? And so nowadays we've flipped that all upside down and turned it around and made and society has made it into this evil thing, but it's not. Right. And
right,
neither is it to say that God's blood runs in our veins, that we're spiritual beings, that we have power. And if people like you and I, Vince, who were able to essentially transform through his power in us and exude that out, and like how
how
like what
could you
else is there to
not
say?
believe, right? How could you not believe, right? It's just like the
Exactly.
miracles that happen every day.
Yeah,
Man, I could go off on a tangent on miracles
straight
too,
up.
because I've had
Yeah.
I've had quite a few awakenings as well. All right,
Mhm.
so let's get back to the
Yeah,
book.
let's dive in.
Let's see. Trying to, okay, that was that one. Hold on, I'm so disorganized. I'll figure it out once I get a crew going. I'll get my show notes going and everything else. Okay,
All
here
good.
we go.
Mhm.
Uh, all right. So this is page 100, and this is
Mhm.
chapter 10, the chaos of healing, and it's like
Yes.
the first paragraph.
Mm.
No one tells you how disorienting it is to break free from a
Yeah.
lifetime. Oh wait, sorry. Let me start over. No one tells you how disorienting it is to break free from a lifetime of survival. For years, chaos was my comfort and addiction was the chain that bound me. When sobriety began to settle in, I was gripped by fear, so profound I felt like even moments of peace might be traps waiting to collapse.
Mhm.
When I read that, I was like,
Mhm.
that's the fucking other shoe dropping. That's the
Yep.
carpet getting pulled out from underneath me. This is
Mm.
too good to be true. I'm gonna
Yeah,
fuck this up somewhere. Talk
absolutely.
talk and walk me through that.
Love to. I would love to. So for me, I mean, I was so used to 23 years of chaos and crap happening and living in that victim state and that victim mentality and always reaching out to my friends for help or my family for this or that. And what chaotic event in my life had just happened that when things started to go well, I was always like, how long am I going to be able to keep it? Like what's next? What's waiting? And essentially what I started to realize was that I was afraid and fearful of my own success, right?
Mm.
I was fearful that I would actually succeed because I had never been there before. I know what it was like to be in chaos and live in crazy times and where stuff's I learned how to deal with it. I mean, resilience was my middle name, right? But I was sick of the bounce back, right? And I just so when things started going well for me, I didn't know how to live uh, in that state of peace, right? And so I would find myself sitting there feeling like I was bored, essentially.
Yeah.
And what I call boredom, I now recognize is peace. I don't boredom. I don't get bored. Life is too full for me now.